Hey, what's up, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent video for this week, where I take a look at some of the stories that caught my attention and give you my thoughts and my opinion. And this one, it's going to be covering a lot of the Nintendo Switch. This one is definitely more Switch focused, though, with one that's non-Switch related, but still has certainly got a lot of people's attention. So why don't we get started off with our first part of our My 2 Cent. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at a rumor that's coming around regarding the Super Nintendo games coming to the Nintendo Switch. Now, last year, as some of you are aware, Nintendo launched their online service and so forth. And the reaction for a lot of it has been sort of mixed at best, though. While the idea of playing NES games on the Nintendo Switch is certainly great, especially with online play, and the fact that they do off $20 for a whole year certainly isn't bad. The service still has gotten some controversies in its own right. Some people don't like the fact that they are slowly putting out games just at a slower pace for their NES service. Other people don't like the idea of paying Nintendo's online service, to the whole issue with the voice chat and doing it over your phone, which, as a side note, I would say I do kind of agree with that argument. Even though I'm not a voice chat person, I think it's ridiculous that they have to ask you to do it over your phone, considering that lately we have been seeing some games, such as ranging from Fortnite to Warframe, basically don't require you to use the app, let alone you don't need to use Nintendo's online service to play those games. So it kind of raises somewhat of a question of what's the point of having it in the first place, though. So, but in either case, though, it's there. Nintendo's going to use it. Whether you like it or not, certainly is going to be based on your opinion and your opinion alone. But interestingly enough, it looks like we might be getting more games, maybe not only NES games, but it sounds like we're going to be getting some Super NES games if this is true. From an article posted on Kotaku, that also the person who posted this also posted on his Twitter feed, basically it points out over the weekend, a hacker by the handler name of Kappa Heck, KAPUCCINOHECK, apologize if I'm not saying that person's name correctly, who last year hacked the program to eject more game ROMs into an app, posted his finding from examining the latest update. Formatted the same way as the NES games, title and description is a batch of information of 22 NES games, much of it in Japanese but some in English. The games program in the code, probably my phone, nothing important though. Games program in the code, basically these are the 22 games, at least supposedly he's fine, and those are Breath of Fire 2, Contra 3: The Alien Wars, Demon Crest, F-Zero, Kirby's Dream Course, Kirby's Dream Land 3, Kirby's Superstar, The Legend of Mystic Ninja, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, Pilot Wing, Pop and Twin B, never heard of that one though, Star Fox 2, Stunt Racer FX, Super Ghouls and Ghost, Super Mario All-Stars, Super Mario Kart, Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island, Super Metroid, Super Punch-Out, and last but not least, Super Soccer. Now, as of right now, Nintendo did release a statement to Kotaku, and they basically said, quote, "We have nothing to announce on this topic," so they're not saying anything at this moment. And he also posted this on his Twitter page as well. If you want to see it, want to read it yourself, though, there'll be a link in the description. Honestly, assuming this is true, if it is though, I think that's great, and I think we could be seeing, I think this is certainly a good thing. The fact that they're bringing these games over as well probably will add more to the service as well, and that's certainly nice. And I could see this as maybe we could perhaps see N64 games or GameCube games make their way over to possibly the possibly to the Nintendo Switch. Although I'm not sure about GameCube games, because I remember hearing that Resident Evil 4 was being ported over to the Nintendo Switch. So I don't know if those will be part of Nintendo's online service or not, though, but it is possible as well. N64 I could definitely see, as well as possibly bringing over games like Super Mario 64, to Star Fox 64, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask to be exact. So I certainly would be down with this, though, although at the same time it kind of would, in a way, kind of maybe defeat the purpose of picking up that NES or Super NES Mini, although many will still hunt those out. But the idea of playing, say, like Star Fox 2, a game that never saw the light of day here in the West, is certainly interesting indeed. But I will say that even if this rumor is true in any way, though, it really boils down, are you willing to basically pay to play these games through Nintendo's online service? And that's sort of the sticking point right there. Some people may not be 100% like the idea of using Nintendo's online service and all that stuff, and it has had its share of controversies as well. So overall, I hope this rumor is true. I would like to see these Super NES games come to Nintendo Switch. I'm hoping other Super Nintendo games come to Nintendo Switch, and hoping to see N64 games if that happens. But if this is true, it's going to boil down to: are you willing to pay to use Nintendo's online service to play these games, though? And I will admit that while this is nice, I won't disagree with the argument that I still would have loved to see them take the virtual console approach indeed. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to get to part 2, and this one has to do with the UK sales chart, which has some interesting results for 2 games: New Super Mario Bros. U and the Tales game, Tales of Vesperia, if I'm saying the name correctly. Apologize if I'm not. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the UK sales charts in a way. And there's some interesting numbers or interesting charts of which got number 1 and which got number 2 and so forth. And it has to do with 2 titles, though. And those are New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe and the latest entry of a remake or a port of the Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. I apologize if I'm not saying the name correctly, though. Now, these are the games that just came out recently this week. New Super Mario Bros. U for the Nintendo Switch, and of course the remake of the Tales game, which came out not only to the Nintendo Switch, but also the PS4, Xbox One, and PC and Steam. And there's an interesting numbers that have come out for the UK. Not only that, but also in Japan as well. We'll start off with the first article from Japan, though, and this is from Push Square. They're showing that New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe entered in at number 1 for this week. I assume this has to do with, I believe this has to do with the media crates, though, since I believe they check sales weekly, though. Entered in at number 1 with 166,303 units sold. As far as the new Tales game, interestingly enough, though, that entered in at number 3 and number 4. However, in terms of which sold the most in Japan, according to Push Square, they're saying that, quote, the role-playing remaster sold best on PlayStation 4, moving around 42,000 copy as opposed to 27,000 on the Nintendo Switch. Obviously the PS4 version ranked in at number 3, while the Nintendo Switch version ranked in at number 4. Not bad. Great that both those games entered into the top 20. However, in the UK, it's a bit of a different story. According to BuzzFeed Industry, and they've updated this story recently, though, they're stating New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe entered in at number 1, though, for this week, though. Be interesting where it enters in say, next week and down beyond. But for this week, it points out at number 1, with FIFA 19 at number 2, Red Dead Redemption 2 at number 3, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 at number 4, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at number 5, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at number 6, Battlefield 5 at number 7, Grand Theft Auto 5 at number 8, Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition at number 9, and Forza Horizon 4 at number 10. Interestingly enough, the Game Industry Buzz article is pointing out that New Super Mario Bros. U is still number 1, but has sold significantly better than previously reported. Its box launch sales are now 56% higher than the original release on the Wii U in November 2013. Though, if that's correct, that's actually kind of interesting. As far as the other one, as far as the Tales of Vesperia, according to another site by the name of Gear Nuke, they are reporting in terms of which, while they don't have the numbers of what units sold, according to them, they're pointing out that Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition sales volume, and this is based on the UK, consists of 49% being on the Nintendo Switch, 43% on the PS4, and the rest of 8% on the Xbox One. They don't have any information on how well the game sold PC via Steam, because that's only digital only, which, as a side note, I think that we need to start tracking the digital sales as well, though. So, apparently, it's kind of interesting that New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe certainly has sold really well, especially entering number 1 in the UK charts. I know there are some people who have criticized the game and has sort of mixed. Some people are upset a bit them selling this for $60 and all, and I will say there are some legitimate criticism, but I will say at the same time, there were a lot of people who did miss out on the game, perhaps when it originally came out, mostly because, well, let's just say, hold on, the Wii U unfortunately did not have the best of reputation, though. It's unfortunate what happened to it, because it would have been a really good system, but there were a lot of bad decisions that unfortunately held that system back, though. And it really is very unfortunate. So to see some of these Wii U games get another shot, like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, to see them now selling better on the Switch, it's obviously clear that we're going to see more of these ports, and they're certainly not going to go away anytime soon. Yes, I understand there is an argument about ports. Not everyone likes them. You gotta also have original content as well, and that's understandable. But ports can also be a good thing at the same time. Ports can also help fill in the gap as they build up to your big release, to the fact that there are people who may have missed out on it, and this is an opportunity for them to pick it up, to that it could build up hype for, say, another entry in the series. Look at Bayonetta 2, for example. They released that on the Switch as a way to build up hype for the upcoming Bayonetta 3. As for the Tales of Vesperia, it's very interesting that that's doing well, even though that entered at number 9, and it is a series I've started to get into more and more lately. But to see but what's interesting is to see how the PS4 version in Japan sold well, but in the UK, and will be interesting to see where it places in the US and how well it does there. It's interesting to see that version sold the most over the PS4, although not by a huge margin, though. Compare that to, say, where the Xbox One version is, to be exact. And it almost sounds very similar to what happened last year with Starlink Battle for Atlantis. Although that game entered in at number 14, which wasn't really a big number for a lot of people. Interestingly enough, the Switch version sold more over the PS4 and Xbox One, although many would point to the fact that the adding inclusion of Star Fox in it may have helped it in a way, which is kind of true, and it does make you kind of wonder, could that game have survived if they didn't put the Star Fox character in? So seeing that a Switch version of this game sell slightly a little bit more than the PS4 version does make you kind of wonder if we're going to see more Tales games come to the Nintendo Switch. Certainly would like to see that. So maybe some ports of some of the older games, or even some brand new entries in, or maybe one exclusively for the Nintendo Switch. I don't know if that will happen or anything like that, but we'll have to wait and see. But overall, great that these two games are selling very well, though. It's great that people are getting another chance to try this game out. I know some people are mixed about it, but it's great that it is, and great that this one is doing very well, both in Japan and in the UK, though. I'm very curious to see how well it does here in the US, and here's to hoping, at least from my perspective, to see more Tales games come to the Nintendo Switch. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to get to part 3, and this one has to do with the Mortal Kombat 11, specifically the Switch version, and rumors of it possibly being delayed. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of our My Choose Net video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at a rumor regarding the Switch version of Mortal Kombat 11. Now, Mortal Kombat and Nintendo have sort of a interesting kind of history in a way. When the original Mortal Kombat came out back on the Super Nintendo day, it was, well, many could see that it was basically sort of dumbed down a little bit, more likely removing some of the fatality and the blood and gore. This was around the time when they had the whole violent video game issue. This was around the time also when Nintendo had a certain policy regarding the use of, violence, blood, gore, certain degrees, certain religious symbols, and even symbols of the Nazi symbol, sex in general, though. Of course, they kind of loosened up a little bit, starting with Mortal Kombat 2, where they sort of opened up certainly allow fatalities and, blood and gore to be used. Not to mention, these days, Nintendo is a little bit more open up, such as having Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus with the Nazi symbols, and certainly are more open up in terms of allowing games like Galgun 2 to come to the Nintendo Switch, to be exact. And of course, Mortal Kombat is a series that's also been on and off on the Nintendo system. It has graced the systems before, though, but it was absent really during the Wii U era, and we really haven't really seen another entry since, at least not any of the other entries that came out since then, until the Nintendo Switch came, especially when they announced the game at the Video Game Awards. And it was interesting to know that a Switch version of Mortal Kombat 11 was in development, although we don't know, at least as far as I'm aware of, if WB Games or NetherRealm is developing it, or if a port house is handling it, like either Iron Galaxy, Panic Button, Virgo, the ones that handled, the port of LA Noire and Dark Souls Remaster, or another studios to be exact. Hopefully it's not the same people that handled WWE 2K18 on the Switch, though. Well, a recent rumor has started to pop up that the game might be, or at least the Switch version of Mortal Kombat 11 might be delayed, at least in the UK, though. From an article on comicbook.com, it says this, quote, "When Mortal Kombat 11 was initially announced last year at the Game Awards, fans were thrilled at what they saw and became even more excited when it was confirmed that it would be coming to the Nintendo Switch, among other platforms. However, a new product listing has us wondering if that version of the game will be making its previous promised April release date. Amazon and a few other European retailers have recently updated their release date for the Switch version of Mortal Kombat 11. Now shows its release date on May 10. Let's see. Which, yeah, they have it set at May 10th on their page, to be exact. For that matter, the official Warner Brothers UK store also has that the Switch version dated for May 10th, even though the company hasn't provided any official update on what's happening just yet. We reached out to the publisher as well as developers at NetherRealm to get an official update and haven't heard anything yet. They also point out that the game is still listed for April 23rd, 2019 here in the States. And just to be clear though, I've gone over to Amazon's page, at least the US Amazon page, and they still have it set, the Switch version set for April 23rd, 2019. Even after I refreshed the page a couple of times, it's still saying April 23rd, 2019. Even GameStop itself still has a release date set on their website, have a date set for April 23rd, 2019. So either they haven't updated it yet and it could be a typo, or the release date or that the US version at the very least is still set for April 23rd, 2019. The fact that the game could be delayed, while if the rumors are true, while it certainly would be somewhat disappointing, wouldn't exactly be surprising at all. After all, if many of you remember last year, Dark Souls Remastered was supposed to come out in May on the Switch, along with the PS4, Xbox One, and PC version. However, that version got delayed all the way towards October. Not to mention, it must be my cat. Yeah, okay, never mind, sorry. Not to mention though, some people may or may not know this though, but Valkyrie Chronicles 4 originally, at least in Japan, the Switch version was supposed to come out with the PS4, along with the PS4 and Xbox One version, but that version got delayed in Japan though. However, that did not impact the Western release of the game, as the Switch, PS4, and Xbox One version were still scheduled to come out in the fall of 2018. So for me, I wouldn't entirely be surprised in any way if it turns out that the Switch version of Mortal Kombat 11 is delayed. It's possible maybe they had, if that's true, perhaps maybe they need to tweak some areas, make some adjustments to make sure that the Switch version runs properly and all that stuff. So it certainly isn't out of the realm of possibility to be delayed. But at the same time, it's also possible that this delay may only impact Europe and the UK, and that the US version probably won't be impacted at all by this. So there's also that scenario could play out as well. So overall, I'm waiting to hear official confirmation if this rumor is true, if the game is delayed in the UK. But I wouldn't rule out the possibility that the Switch version could be delayed all around. I wouldn't exactly rule it out, but I'm not going to say it is until we hear official confirmation from WB Games or NetherRealm to be exact. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 4, and we're going to hear a report by one analyst who believes that it is possible Nintendo may have reached their 20 million Switches sold. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 4 of our My True Set video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be looking at a report that it is possible Nintendo may have hit their goal of 20 million Switch units sold though. Now, as some of you know, the Switch has really been helping Nintendo a lot. Ever since its launch in March 2017, the system certainly has taken off. And many believe the system, I think, has outsold, the original Xbox. Many believe that it's going to outsell, I believe, the original Wii. I believe it already did. To even, excuse me, outselling the PS4, at least in Japan to be exact though. Now, Nintendo has set their goal originally with the Nintendo Switch at basically 20 million by, I believe, March 2019. I could be wrong on that. If I am, make sure to put it out in the comment section below. And some analysts and some people weren't sure if they could reach that number. After all, I remember like a couple years ago, Nintendo originally thought with the Wii U that they would reach 9 million by like I think March of 2014, only to find out they only sold like around I believe 2.5 million, and that was an embarrassment. That was pretty bad, and I think a lot of people at that point said that the Wii U was not going to reach that in any way, and it was unfortunate. But as I said before, with the whole argument about New Super Mario Brothers U coming to Nintendo Switch, a lot of people missed out on that game and so forth. So it was certainly interesting to hear Nintendo saying that they were basically going to try to hit the 20 million units. And apparently, it's possible they may have already have. According to an article from Gaming Bolt, it reads, quote, "The final quarter of 2018 was apparently very lucrative for Nintendo as hardware sales are concerned. The Switch reportedly sold approximately 11 million units worldwide from October to December, reported Wall Street Journal reporter Takahisa Mochizuki, Takahasa apologize if I'm not saying the name correctly, on Twitter. As per analysts, this is putting them on track to achieve the target 20 million units sold within the financial year that Nintendo has set for themselves to continue to stand by. In the first half of the financial year until October, the Switch has sold 5.1 million units, but the release of heavy hitter exclusives such as Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee doubtless provided a significant boost to its sales. Accounting for sales in fourth quarter 2018, third quarter of the financial year, the Switch will now stand at over 16 million units sold in the FY financial year, which puts them with 4 million units of hitting the 20 million unit target, which, according to the person I mentioned, is some analysts are beginning increasingly confident will manage to do so. Analysts are predicting that thanks to strong demand of not only the hardware but also the software, which continues to perform historically well on the Switch, Nintendo is also bound to increase their financial earning guidelines, though. While the 11 million figures isn't something Nintendo has officially confirmed as of yet, we could probably expect to hear about the official number from them soon when they release their third quarter fiscal yearly 2018-2019 earnings result at the end of this month, which supposedly will take place on January 31st. And the person who made this tweet about it, Mr. Takahasa, basically wrote, supposedly on the Dow Jones newsletter that he posted on his Twitter page, though, link will be in the description. It reads that analysts are increasingly believing that Nintendo's goal to sell 20 million Switches console this fiscal year is realistic. Holiday demand was unexpectedly good, they say. Many had thought reaching that sales total for the year through March was a long shot. Ace Research Institute sales last quarter hit 11 million. That's a F1H. That as F1H sales were 5.1 million. Nintendo has said ahead of the January 31st third quarter results, analysts are now expecting Nintendo to raise fiscal yearly earnings guidance, but more so on strong demand for software, which is more lucrative than hardware. Nintendo shares are up 5.1% of this week and 8.9% for January after a December 15% SKID. Now, obviously, we'll have to wait until their financial earnings to determine whether they actually hit that goal or whether they were close. It will be very interesting to see if they could hit that. As for where I stand on it, I'm going to say, and I could be completely wrong on this, I'm not an analysis or anything, but I'm leaning towards the belief that Nintendo probably did hit the 20 million units. Maybe a little bit more, but I'm leaning towards that. That could be a bit conservative to some out there, but that's where I am leaning toward. And I wouldn't be surprised if games like Pokemon or Smash Brothers may have helped push them to that 20 million units. After all, and I think I've said this before though, as crazy as this is going to sound to some people, there are those that are willing to buy a system just to play one game. I know that sounds strange, I know that's going to sound crazy to some people, but there are some gamers that will do that. And the Smash Brothers series seems to be that one big game. I mean, there are people who bought a Wii U just to play Smash Brothers on the Wii U, to be exact. So I wouldn't be entirely surprised, excuse me, if it turns out in the end Nintendo was able to hit that 20 million units goal. I hope they do hit it, or at least get close, because hopefully we don't have a repeat of what happened during the Wii U, where they were hoping to hit 9 million, but only hit around 2.5 million. I'm hoping it's enough that's good news for the Nintendo Switch. So overall, I'm leaning towards them hitting 20 million, though. We'll have to wait until their fiscal earning comes out, but as of right now, like I said, I think they did hit their 20 million units. Again, I could be wrong. We'll have to wait and see, but that's where I'm standing as of right now on this. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 5, and this one has to do with EA, boo, and basically a cancellation of cancellation of the Star Wars game. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our 5th and final part of our My 2 Cent video, and this has to do with EA and Star Wars. Ever since EA got the rights to make Star Wars games courtesy of Disney, though, there have been made a lot of decisions that have been very controversial and have not sat well with a lot of gamers, especially not to mention EA's reputation that they have earned. Apparently we've seen the results of it, ranging from some mobile games from EA with the Star Wars license, which let's be real, EA and mobile doesn't exactly go well with each other. Remember Dungeon Keeper Mobile, that whole debacle of a mess, and the recent people upset over Command & Conquer Rival, to some of their releases of games like Star Wars Battlefront, which many felt was incomplete, to Star Wars Battlefront 2, which not only was incompleted, but over the whole microtransaction and loot box and the amount of controversy that drew from a lot of people, from gamers to even government officials investigating whether loot box are considered gambling, to be exact. And well, it seems as though EA has certainly may have canceled another Star Wars game that might have been good, or might have been good if they had actually released it and actually put some time and effort. According to an article on Kotaku from Jason Strider, I said the wrong name. Schreier. Again, I apologize if I'm saying his name incorrectly, though. It reads that, quote, Electronic Arts has canceled its open-world Star Wars game, according to 3 people familiar with the going on at the company. The game, announced alongside the shutdown of Visceral's games back in 2017, has been in development at EA's office in Vancouver. EA Vancouver, a large studio that mostly handles supports for a variety of published games including FIFA and Battlefront, has been working on the open-world Star Wars game since October 2017, when EA closed Visceral Games. Until then, Visceral, best known for the popular Dead Space horror series, was developing its own Star Wars game. That project, codenamed Ragtag, was a linear action-adventure game directed by Uncharted director Amy Hemming. EA Vancouver has been assisting on the project, and when EA closed Visceral Games on October 2017, the Vancouver studio took it over. But it wouldn't be accurate to say that EA's Vancouver Star Wars was the same game as Ragtag. When EA Vancouver took over, it rebooted this Star Wars project entirely, keeping some of the art assets but transforming it into an open world game. Now the project has been canceled too. EA did not immediately respond to comments on this though. Although he has updated the article though, and points out a statement that was sent by EA, which stated after this story was published, quote, "There have been speculation overnight about one of the Star Wars project. As a natural part of the creative process, the great work by our team in Vancouver continues and will evolve into future Star Wars content and game. We are fully committed to making more Star Wars games. We are very excited about Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order from Respawn, and we'll share more about a new project when the time is right." On top of that, it seems as though, according to Den of a Geek, they picked up another story from Kotaku in which EA certainly has not been happy with the game's license, though. According to Den of Geek, which they pick up the Kotaku article, which is written by the same person who just wrote this game being canceled, EA's difficulty with the Star Wars license might have something to do with CEO Andrew Wilson, who has reportedly never been entirely thrilled with the 10-year licensing deal in the first place. This claim is according to Kotaku source inside EA as well as former employees. The publisher responded to the report calling the rumor purely speculation and not accurate, though. Wilson has led the company since September 2013, chosen as the CEO of EA just months after the company made a deal with Disney in April of that year, but the deal was actually spearheaded by EA's label president Frank Gibeau, Gibeau, and former EA CEO John Riccitiello, both of whom have since moved on from the company. Wilson inherited the Star Wars deal, so to speak. As noted by Kotaku, the Wilson era has seen EA largely move away from third-party license in order to focus on its own franchise such as Mass Effect, Dragon Age, Battlefield, Titanfall, and Anthem. This leaves Star Wars in a strange spot on the EA's lineup. Unlike with its first-party titles, EA is forced to consult with Lucasfilm and Disney over every aspect of a Star Wars project, not to mention that it has to share the profits made by these games with the House of Mouse. If the rumors are to be believed, the Star Wars license might be more problematic for EA, a company with plenty of other franchise to do with what its will than it's worth, at least in the eyes of its CEO. Wilson could be counting down the days for this Star Wars deal to be over so that his company can take the weight of arguably the biggest blockbuster franchise of all times off its shoulder. Considering the states of Star Wars games, even the fans might rejoice on that day. Now, assuming all of this is true in every way, though, I'm going to come out and say this. I may have said this before, and I'm going to say it again. If I was advising the head of Disney, Bob Iger, I seriously would tell them to reevaluate your license deal with EA now. And I really think they should, because ever since EA's handled the Star Wars license, it's been not only games selling below expectation or what they were hoping for, but the whole controversy it has drawn up with EA handling the Star Wars license, from how Battlefront 1 was handled to how Battlefront 2 was handled, especially with the whole microtransaction, especially with the fact that the CEO of Disney had to call the CEO of EA and tell them to remove the microtransaction after the amount of backlash that was coming from the way EA was handling the whole controversy to begin with. I mean, there are so many talented developers out there that could handle this license better than basically how EA is handling it. In fact, I think Disney should look at how they've handled the Marvel license in terms of video games so far. They let Sony and Insomniac Games handle Spider-Man, and that was done very well, and that game sold very well. And recently, we're learning that Nintendo, along with Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja, are handling the Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. They're handling a Marvel license game, and while it's too early to say for certain if the game will be good or not, I am optimistic given Nintendo's history and given how they have worked with Koei Tecmo before. I know not everyone was a fan of Metroid Other M, although I didn't hate that game as much. They certainly have handled the Fire Emblem and Zelda games well, with Hyrule Warriors and Fire Emblem Warriors to be exact. So I do have hope for that title as well. But the thing is, they're letting other developers handle the Marvel license and create games out of this. Why not let other developers handle the Star Wars license? There are other developers that could probably make a really good Star Wars game that people would be willing to play. That license has a lot of potential, and to just give it to EA, who have really done nothing other than find multiple ways to piss off consumers and try to find a way to nickel and dime consumers to death, especially since they're willing to fight the Belgian government to have microtransactions, especially into their FIFA series. Though it's just amazing. It's just really sad what has happened to the license, and this whole cancellation of this open world Star Wars game might have been good if EA actually went through with it, especially the linear Star Wars game. And it's just unbelievable how this has come up, how this whole situation has played out. I really think Disney should take a page out of what Bungie did just recently with Activision, and I think they need to somehow find a way, legally though, or look through the contract and find a way to, both EA and Disney to just part ways though, because the Star Wars license is not working with EA right now, and I wouldn't even trust them to handle a licensed game, or any game for that matter, given what they have done so far. I mean, I have no confidence with Anthem. I really do not. Maybe it might be good, but after how EA's handled their situations, how they have dubbed down, especially with microtransactions, especially their middle finger response, I have no confidence in that company, and I would not be shocked if I hear one day that EA goes under. They may not be going under right now, but if that happens though, should that ever happen, I would not shed a tear if that company goes under. But overall, it's really sad that this open world Star Wars game is being canceled. I think there could have been so much potential with it, and I seriously think Disney, especially under the leadership of Bob Iger, really needs to reconsider giving this license to EA. I really think they need to reevaluate and re-examine that. I think they need to do that right now. And I'm seeing my cat on the bed. Hey, Rocky. Hey, Rocky. Okay. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about the rumors that we could be seeing as Super Nintendo games on the Nintendo Switch? Are you looking forward to this? Do you think this could be worth paying for the Nintendo Online service? Do you think this rumor is true? Do you think it's not true? What are your thoughts about the UK sale charts? Are you surprised to see New Super Mario Bros. U at number 1? Are you not surprised about that? What are your thoughts about the Tales of Vesperia, if I'm saying the name correctly, entering at number 9? Do you think this is a good number? Are you surprised that the Switch version sold a little bit more than the PS4 version? I believe Switch sold at 48%, while PS4 sold at 43%. Are you surprised by this? Are you not surprised about this? What about the rumors of Mortal Kombat 11, at least the Switch version, being delayed to May 10th? Do you think this rumor is true? Do you think this rumor will only impact Europe and in UK, or do you expect to see all regions will probably see a delay of Mortal Kombat 11 on the Nintendo Switch? What are your thoughts about the report that Nintendo might have actually hit 20 million units Switch sold, or realistically hitting that goal? Do you think Nintendo has already hit that goal? Do you think Smash Brothers and Pokemon have helped, to be exact, or do you think Nintendo will not hit that goal? And if you don't think they'll hit that goal, what number do you think they may have hit in terms of how many Switch units they may have sold so far? And last but not least, what are your thoughts about EA canceling the Star Wars game? Are you surprised by this? Are you not surprised by this? Do you think it's time that Disney and EA part ways? Do you think it's time Disney needs to reevaluate the license they gave EA to handle? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And I hope you hit that like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I do. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You can do it through PayPal Me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that will be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!